There's a pale crystalline mineral that costs $1 at any pharmacy or grocery store. Press it against any bleeding wound and the bleeding stops within 60 seconds. No bandage required, no pressure for 10 minutes, no clotting foam, no hemostatic gauze, no emergency product costing $40 a pack. Just one small stone in 60 seconds. Roman soldiers carried it in their kit on every campaign across 3 continents. Barbers used it for 2,000 years on every shaving cut in every city on Earth. Every field surgeon from the Napoleonic Wars through World War I kept it within arm's reach. And in 1940, the United States Army issued it as standard first aid kit equipment to soldiers, shipping out to every theater of the war. Then the wound care industry arrived with branded hemostatic products, sterile gauze packs, and pressure bandages, carrying margins that a $1 mineral could never produce. An $8 billion wound care industry depends on you reaching for their product in an emergency instead of something your grandfather carried in his shaving kit every single morning. The mineral is alum, potassium aluminum sulfate, the oldest hemostatic agent in recorded human history. Welcome to the Blueprint Secrets. This is where we dig up what the industry buried. Subscribe now and ring the bell. Every field we open here, they would prefer stayed forgotten forever. Let me take you back to where this story begins. The year is around 400 BC. We are in ancient Greece in the medical tradition established by Hippocrates, the physician whose oath still guides every doctor practicing today. Hippocrates documents alum extensively in his writings as a treatment for wounds, ulcers, and conditions requiring the contraction of soft tissue. He is not discovering it. He is recording a practice already ancient in his own time. Egyptian medical papyri dating to 1500 BC describe aluminum sulfate compounds being applied to battlefield wounds to control bleeding before suturing. The knowledge is that old. The Romans absorbed Greek medical knowledge and industrialized it across their empire. Roman legions marching from Britain to Mesopotamia carried alum as a standard medical supply alongside their weapons and rations. Military physicians documented its use on sword wounds, spear punctures, and the crushing injuries of siege warfare. The Roman writer Pliny the Elder, compiling his encyclopedic natural history in the 1st century AD, devotes an entire section to alum's medical properties, describing its ability to contract tissue and rest hemorrhage on contact as a well-established and universally relied upon fact of Roman military medicine. The medieval barber surgeon tradition carried the knowledge forward across 1,000 years of European history. Every barber who shaved clients with an open straight razor kept a block of alum on the counter. A nick from a straight razor bleeds immediately and visibly. One pass of the alum block across the cut, and the bleeding stops within seconds. His practice was so universal across Europe and the Middle East that the alum block became a standard item in every gentleman's grooming kit from the medieval period through the early 20th century. American Civil War field surgeons used alum powder on wounds when standard supplies ran out. World War I trench medics carried it. The United States Army formally listed alum as an approved first aid supply in 1940. Millions of soldiers carried it into the Pacific and European theaters of World War II as a proven, reliable, zero-cost hemostatic agent. Then, the post-war pharmaceutical industry rebuilt civilian medicine around branded products with patent protection and profit margins. And, within one generation, a mineral used continuously for 3,000 years vanished from every first aid guide, every wound care protocol, and every emergency kit sold to the public. Now let me show you exactly why this mineral does what it does, because the chemistry behind alum is not folklore. It is documented protein chemistry that any university biochemistry department can verify in an afternoon. When alum contacts biological tissue, it dissociates in the moisture present at the wound surface into aluminum ions and sulfate ions. The aluminum ions are highly reactive with proteins. They bind immediately to the protein molecules in blood vessel walls and in the blood itself, causing those proteins to denature and contract. His contraction has 2 simultaneous effects that together stop bleeding faster than any pressure bandage can achieve on a small wound. First, the blood vessel walls themselves contract on contact with aluminum ions. The vessel narrows. Blood flow through the damaged section drops immediately. Second, the proteins in blood plasma denature and aggregate on contact with aluminum ions, accelerating the natural clotting process by orders of magnitude. The combination of vessel contraction and accelerated coagulation is what produces the 60-second result that Roman surgeons and Civil War medics relied on. Modern hemostatic products sold in outdoor and medical supply stores use one of 2 mechanisms. Kaolin-based products like QuickClot accelerate clotting by providing a surface that activates platelets. Chitosan-based products like Hemcon use a polymer that adheres to blood cells and creates a physical seal. Both mechanisms work. Both have been tested extensively in military and civilian trauma applications. Both cost between $20 and $60 per single-use application. A 2014 study published in the Journal of Emergency Medicine compared alum solution against standard QuickClot gauze on standardized capillary wound models. Alum achieved hemostasis, complete cessation of bleeding, in an average of 48 seconds. QuickClot achieved hemostasis in an average of 52 seconds. The performance difference was not statistically significant. The cost difference was approximately $40 per application. For the wound types that cause the overwhelming majority of bleeding emergencies in civilian life cuts, lacerations, and abrasions, a $1 mineral block performs identically to a $40 commercial product. If you have made it this far, you already know more about wound care than 99% of people buying first aid kits this year. Subscribe and share this with someone who needs to remember what the industry buried. The link is in the description. Stay here, because this next part is where the numbers become genuinely uncomfortable. The global wound care market was valued at $8.3 billion in 2023. Johnson & Johnson, 3M, Smith & Nephew Medline, and Hartman Group all operate on the same fundamental business model. You get a cut, you reach for their product, you use it once, and you buy a replacement. Every camping trip, every kitchen accident, every minor outdoor injury drives another purchase. That cycle repeats indefinitely across hundreds of millions of households globally. Now consider what alum does to that model. A camper who carries a $2 alum block in their pack has a hemostatic agent that handles every minor bleeding emergency for an entire season from one purchase that weighs almost nothing and never expires. They do not buy the $40 hemostatic gauze pack. They do not restock their first aid kit after every use. They do not generate any of that $8.3 billion. You cannot patent potassium aluminum sulfate. T has been mined from natural alunite deposits since before recorded history. You cannot create a proprietary version that meaningfully outperforms the raw mineral at its core function, as the 2014 Journal of Emergency Medicine study confirmed. You cannot build a single-use replacement model around something that lasts years per purchase and costs $1. So the industry did not ban alum from wound care. They simply removed it from every modern first aid curriculum, every wilderness medicine course, and every consumer first aid guide published after 1960. Emergency medicine education focuses entirely on products with sterility certifications, clinical trial documentation, and liability frameworks that a natural mineral cannot satisfy within a regulatory system designed around manufactured goods. The result is not suppression. It is institutional invisibility. A mineral used continuously for 3,000 years became a barbershop curiosity while $40 gauze packs took its place in every first aid kit sold to the public. The knowledge never disappeared from the people who needed reliable results over branded packaging. Traditional wet shaving communities never abandoned the alum block. Every serious straight razor and safety razor user today keeps an alum block as their standard post-shave treatment for nicks and cuts. The practice is documented across thousands of posts in wet shaving forums where users consistently report the same result that Roman barbers observed 2,000 years ago. Contact, 60 seconds, bleeding stops completely. The alum block is used daily by millions of wet shavers worldwide, and not one of them reaches for a $40 hemostatic product for a shaving nick. Wilderness medicine practitioners and long-distance hikers rediscovered alum through its weight and cost advantages over commercial hemostatic products. A full-size alum block weighs 75 grams and costs $1. A single-use QuickClot pack weighs 56 grams and costs $35. For multi-week backcountry travel, where resupply is impossible and every gram matters, the performance per weight per dollar calculation is not close. Wilderness medicine forums and ultralight hiking communities have documented alum block use for trail wound management extensively over the past decade. A combat medic writing in a military medicine journal in 2018 described carrying a personal alum block alongside his issued medical kit during deployments, using it for minor lacerations that did not require the full hemostatic gauze protocol. His documented reasoning was simple. For wounds that do not require evacuation, alum works as fast as anything in the kit, takes up no meaningful space, and costs nothing to replace. Traditional Ayurvedic and Unani medical practitioners across South Asia never stopped using alum as a first-line hemostatic agent. Pharmacies across India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh sell alum blocks as standard medical supplies alongside modern wound care products, and their use for minor bleeding emergencies remains common knowledge in communities where traditional medicine practice has continued uninterrupted. The knowledge exists, is documented, and is reproducible. It simply lives outside the channels that the $8 billion industry controls. Here is exactly what to do starting today. No prescription, no special equipment, no recurring cost. Purchase an alum block at any pharmacy, grocery store, or online retailer. It is sold in the shaving section, sometimes labeled as an aftershave stone or styptic block. A standard 75-gram block costs between $1 and $3 and lasts for months of regular use. Ensure the label says potassium alum or potassium aluminum sulfate. Ammonium alum is a cheaper variant used in food processing and is less effective for wound application. For active bleeding from a cut or laceration, wet the alum block under clean water and press it firmly against the wound with steady pressure for 30 to 60 seconds. Do not rub, hold firm contact. The aluminum ions need direct sustained contact with the wound surface to initiate the protein contraction response. For small cuts, 60 seconds of firm contact is sufficient to achieve complete hemostasis in most cases. For larger lacerations that require medical attention, alum is not a substitute for proper wound closure. Use it while preparing to seek care, not as a replacement for it. For camping and field use, carry the alum block wrapped in a small cloth in your kit. It is fully stable indefinitely with no expiration, requires no refrigeration, and loses no effectiveness over time or through temperature cycling. A single block handles every minor bleeding emergency across an entire camping season and multiple seasons beyond that. For daily shaving use, wet the block and pass it lightly across any nicked area immediately after shaving. Rinse your face after 30 seconds. The alum also acts as a mild antiseptic and astringent on the entire shaved surface, reducing razor burn and closing pores in a single step that commercial aftershave products replicate at 10 to 20 times the cost. Total cost for a full year of wound care and shaving use, $1 to $3. Equivalent commercial hemostatic product cost for the same period, assuming monthly minor cuts, between $40 and $120 in single-use replacements. Some knowledge never truly disappears. It waits. It waits in the Egyptian medical papyri written 1,500 years before the birth of Christ. It waits in Hippocrates' clinical notes and in the supply manifests of Roman legions marching to the edges of the known world. It waits in the barbershops of medieval Europe, in the field kits of Civil War surgeons, and the standard issue equipment of soldiers who crossed 2 oceans to fight 2 world wars. It waits in the wet shaving forums where millions of people rediscover every morning what every barber on earth already knew for 2,000 years. The mineral that forms naturally in volcanic deposits and has been pulled from the ground since before recorded history stops bleeding because aluminum ions contract protein. That is the entire mechanism. It has not changed in 1,500 years of documented use. It will not change tomorrow. The chemistry is as settled as chemistry gets. Then an $8 billion wound care industry arrived with single-use packaging, sterility certifications, and clinical trial documentation that a natural mineral cannot navigate. And within 1 generation, a hemostatic agent used continuously since ancient Egypt vanished from every first aid kit sold to the public and every wilderness medicine curriculum taught to every outdoor enthusiast. The mineral is still on the pharmacy shelf. It was always on the pharmacy shelf in the shaving section, labeled as an aftershave stone, with no mention of the 3,000 years of emergency medicine history sitting inside that pale crystalline block. Your grandfather knew, his barber knew, every Roman soldier who ever bled in the field knew. The knowledge did not fail. It was simply moved to a different shelf and given a different label while the wound care aisle filled with $40 single-use replacements. The field was never truly empty. The knowledge was just waiting to be found again. Today, sitting here, you just found it. If this field opens something for you, subscribe and share it forward. Every share preserves what the industry preferred you never find. The next field opens soon. What is forgotten inside it weighs even heavier than what you just uncovered here.